Darth Vader's suit is one of the most interesting and iconic looks in all of Star Wars. It was tall, menacing, and carried all the authority one would need as a Dark Lord of the Sith, though it was not without its setbacks. A burning question in many people's minds is, why didn't he just get a new suit? As one of the highest-ranking members of the Empire, surely he had the means to do so. Well, friends, today you found the right place for your answer. Stick with us as we explore why Vader was so hesitant to upgrade his armor. To understand this, we have to look past that intimidating silhouette and into the grim reality of the man inside the machine. For decades, fans have wondered why the second most powerful being in the galaxy, a known technological prodigy from his youth, would be confined to what was, in many ways, deeply flawed hardware. The answer reveals a truth far more twisted than any piece of faulty wiring. On the surface, Vader's suit was a marvel of life support. It gave him immense durability and superhuman strength, but beneath this formidable exterior was a collection of critical design flaws. The suit was notoriously heavy and cumbersome, forcing Vader to abandon the acrobatic grace of his former fighting style for a more brutal, grounded approach. We've gone into much detail before about the horror of his initial transformation, but to recap, Palpatine designed this suit not just as life support, but as a punishment. Sidious never dreamed that his apprentice could possibly lose to Obi-Wan Kenobi. After his humiliating defeat on Mustafar, it's believed Palpatine no longer saw Anakin as worthy to surpass him, but rather as an enforcer to keep on a leash. Thus, he designed Vader a suit purposefully made of obsolete and subpar material. The suit was a living hell. His robotic limbs were cumbersome, the inside wasn't properly lined, causing metal to painfully snag on his burned flesh, and the audio sensors were of such poor quality that Vader himself said it often sounded as if everything was underwater. Most glaringly, the suit was incredibly vulnerable to electrical discharges, a fatal weakness for the apprentice of a master who wielded Force lightning as his signature weapon. Palpatine could, at any moment, disable or kill his own enforcer with a flick of his wrist, a built-in kill switch that was a constant reminder of who was truly in control. Given these shortcomings, the question becomes unavoidable. Why didn't he fix it? The answer has multiple layers. You see, he was indeed offered the chance for an upgrade. In the Legends novel Star Wars Death Star, Palpatine actually presents Vader with the prospect of a superior Vader 2.0 suit, promising greater mobility and fewer vulnerabilities. But the offer came with a terrifying catch. To move him into the new suit, they would have to disconnect him from the very machines keeping him alive. With all the wires and systems integrated into his body, there was a high risk of death during the operation. Disconnecting his respiratory system and heartbeat regulator all at once, even for a second, could spell his doom. The risk was too high, so Vader refused. Had Sidious been inclined to help, perhaps he could have used the dark side to sustain Vader during the transition. But by then, there was no way Sidious was going to hold his apprentice's hand and help him become more powerful. Another reason is quite interesting. The way the dark side works is through pain, anger, and suffering. And Vader, of all people, had a monopoly of suffering at his disposal. This is the true core of the issue. Emperor Palpatine was a master of manipulation, and the suit's flaws were not accidents, they were features. Every moment of Vader's existence was defined by agony. The constant grating noise of the respirator, the synthetic limbs that chafed against scarred flesh, all of it was designed to generate unending discomfort and pain. And that misery was the point. For a Sith, pain leads to anger leads to hate, and hate is the fuel for the dark side. The canon novel Lords of the Sith describes how Vader learned to use the constant torment of his suit to sharpen his fury and strengthen his connection to the dark side. Palpatine had engineered a perfect feedback loop. The suit kept Vader in constant pain, which fueled the rage that made him a powerful weapon, but it also kept him broken and dependent. Here, we find Vader's true fear. He wasn't just afraid of the surgical risk. He was terrified of losing the pain that had become central to his identity and his power. If a new suit eased suffering, would it also dull his anger? Would it weaken his connection to the dark side, the only thing he felt he had left? An upgrade promised relief, but relief was a path away from the Sith. The constant agony was his penance and his power, and he was terrified of living without it. Vader did eventually make minor adjustments to his own suit, upgrading his cybernetics to be strong enough to crush a lightsaber, but he never pursued a fundamental overhaul. He chose to remain in his flawed, agonizing prison because the alternative, escaping the pain, meant confronting the vulnerable man he once was and losing the monstrous power he had gained. This reveals the self-destructive nature of the Sith. A master doesn't want an apprentice to surpass them, but to become a perfect tool. The suit was the ultimate instrument of this control, keeping Vader strong in the Force but weak in spirit, forever the tormented apprentice. So, friends, what do you think of this subject? Do you think that Vader should have kept trying for a new suit? Or was he smart in playing it safe and keeping his old suit, along with all of the hindrances and suffering that came with it? Make sure to comment down below your thoughts on